Watch more programs like this on cable and stream with PCN Select. Subscribe at PCNTV.com.
Joining us now is Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, Carla Sands. Why are you running for this office?
You know, I'm running for this office because I really feel like many Republicans aren't working for the people of Pennsylvania and the people of the United States. There are some that are doing these Republican elected officials what they should do: protect our constitutional rights, protect free speech, protect, our heritage, our American way of life and culture. And instead, many of them seem like they're weak and they go along to get along. And what I see is that there's a fundamental transformation of the United States taking place. I reject that. I reject President Biden's war on Pennsylvania energy. I reject the Green New Deal radical regulations on our farmers and our energy sector. I reject an open southern border when we know that criminals are coming across and record levels of fentanyl, which is the #1 killer of our youth in the United States. I reject that this administration is bungling our world leadership and causing chaos around the world. None of the chaos around the world happened under the previous administration. Wars were ended, and we had energy dominance. So I am running to reestablish American and Pennsylvania energy dominance and to get back to the rule of law, common sense regulations, and protecting our constitutional rights.
Welcome to the PCN Call-In program. I'm Liaga Bunyofu. For the next half hour, Republican candidate for U.S. Senate Carla Sands will answer your questions. Our toll-free number is 1-877-PA6-5001. Now we're going to get into all those issues, but first
Sure.
I want to get into your background a little bit. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Sure. So I'm from Cumberland County, and I'm an 8th-generation Pennsylvanian, and my Pennsylvania ancestors fought in the American Revolution and in the Civil War. And I truly believe that this is our time to fight for the heart and soul of our great nation. Individually, personally, I'm a pro-life, pro-First Amendment, pro-Second Amendment, constitutional conservative, and I'm a businesswoman, I'm a Christian, and I'm a mom. And that's how I look at everything in life. It colors my judgment, and that's my guiding, I would say, North Star. I am ready on day one. I'm the only person in this race who is. I'm a 3rd-generation doctor of chiropractic, and I practiced in Camp Hill alongside my dad here in Cumberland County. And my work, my education, marriage, and diplomacy have taken me across our great country and around the world. And I'm the only candidate in this race who actually helped President Trump get elected in 2016. And then worked in his administration. First, I was appointed to his Economic Advisory Council, and then as the U.S. ambassador to Denmark, Greenland, and the Faroe Islands. So I worked for all of you watching.
Now, you came from the business background before working in public office. What kind of business did you do?
So initially, it was small business, right? My first real job was at Hershey Park. And then I was a doctor of chiropractic. Ultimately, I ran other doctors' practices. That is something that I worked on in my 20s and early 30s. And then after my late husband passed away in 2015, I stepped in to run our family's company, and it was largely a commercial real estate company with a nationwide footprint and hundreds of employees. And that's what I was doing when I met Donald Trump. And I worked hard to help him get elected, just like I have every Republican candidate for president since I've been an adult, because I believe that the Republican Party is the party of love of country, love of strong families, love of our constitutional rights. And we welcome, we don't exclude, we welcome, we're inclusive, all races, all religions, all backgrounds. We welcome them into our party if they share our values and ideals. And that's the opposite of what we see in the Democrat Party. It's the party of censorship. They are blocking free speech. They are not enforcing our rule of law. I would say they're talking about our Constitution being a living document, not a contract between the government and the people that limits the government's powers. We like that.
And you also mentioned that you did serve as ambassador to Denmark, Greenland, and the Faroe Islands.
Yes.
Just talk about that experience and the United States relationship to Denmark during your time there.
Sure. So it was a dream of a young girl growing up in Cumberland County to represent our country as an ambassador. But I didn't know about the Foreign Service, so I actually ended up being an ambassador through the political lane rather than the Foreign Service lane, which is a wonderful career for young men and women. While I was there, I was able to work with my great team and increase U.S. exports over 43%. So we created thousands of jobs here at home while I was at Post, working in Copenhagen for all your viewers. I also was able to help secure the High North, working with the Pentagon and NATO and other various branches. It was really quite something. We were able to put a consulate in Greenland, get a Coast Guard billet for Denmark for Arctic security, work out DoD contract issues, and also do trade and cooperation agreements. And the DoD actually gave me their highest civilian honor, the Medal for Distinguished Public Service.
All right, we're going to take our first call. It's from Harrisburg. John, you can ask your question.
My question is simple. We've heard about cheating in the elections. What is the Republican Party doing? What is your election people doing, or Lou Barletta's or anybody else's doing to make sure it's fair? Because I live in Lower Paxton Township, and I think our election officials are great. They do a fair election. So what are you guys doing to make sure that this is going to be a fair election? What exactly are you doing?
Well, thanks for the question, John. We know that on Republicans' minds, and Democrats too, we want fair and free elections. It is universal that Pennsylvanians and Americans want our elections to be honest, and it is a large majority of both parties that support voter ID because of that. They want people to show voter ID to make sure that one person, one legal citizen, and one vote. And so some of the things that we know are that in 2020, Republicans had the best year since 1953. We won 2 statewide races, and no Republican incumbent lost their race. Now, that doesn't account for the top of the ticket and what went on. And to that point, I will also say in 2021, we had a red wave as well. We won 3 out of 4 judgeships, and we limited the governor's power in an emergency situation. But here's the thing. Rand Paul spoke publicly, and this is what he said. Was the election of 2020 stolen? He said, yes, it was, but it was stolen legally by those Zuckerbucks. Mark Zuckerberg and his wife and friends put almost $500 million into a nonprofit to control how the election was held in various cities and areas. For instance, Philadelphia. They put drop boxes in certain places. And what they did a forensic analysis, Senator Paul said, and found that without the Mark Zuckerberg money, the Zuckerbucks, that election, Donald Trump would have won. We would then have 2% inflation. Gas prices would be about $2.20, $2.40 a gallon. We'd have energy dominance. The shelves in our stores would be full like they were during the entire pandemic. Also, we know our southern border would be quiet. And guess what? Russia would not have dared invade Ukraine. How about that? So we have to secure our election. And I point you to Virginia. Virginia made great inroads in securing their most recent governor election. They did it by having more watchers over the election than they had ever had. Many people volunteered, and they had excellent attorneys to make sure that there was no mischief on either side. And what they found is that the Republican won fair and square, and nobody stole that election. So I think that we should emulate what they did in Virginia, and some of the counties around Pennsylvania are using Virginia's game plan as a roadmap. So I hope that you will do that here in our county.
Our next caller is from Lebanon. Steve, you can ask your question.
Hello, Ambassador. How are you doing?
Hello, Steve. Good.
All right, so I'm one of Trump's biggest supporters in Lebanon County. And I'd like to know, based on your experience as an ambassador and based on your experience in the previous administration you served in, how would you be as a senator for the great state of Pennsylvania and all of our citizens?
Well, thanks for the question, Steve. First of all, I'm the only candidate ready on day one. I've worked on these national policy issues, so foreign policy, but also defense policy. Defense policy, having worked with the Pentagon and with NATO, with EUCOM, all of these other players. And I'll just share, my team and I actually blocked that Russian gas pipeline. It was the only place it wasn't finished was in Danish waters. So we had briefings and were able to delay it. And then we had the threat of sanctions. So we worked hard as a team to block that Russian gas pipeline from being finished. And we know what happened. On day one, Biden, with the stroke of a pen, killed Keystone XL pipeline and those 11,000 good jobs. And then a few months later, he gave Putin the right to finish his Nord Stream 2 pipeline without sanctions. That is unbelievable that a sitting president would do that. I will work in the Senate to be Pennsylvania's energy senator. And I'm calling openly for Operation Warp Speed for American energy dominance. And I'll work with whoever is elected governor to bring that energy dominance back. So we harvest and we transport that energy, and we do it at the state and federal level so we can make sure it's successful. And that means we won't need to import blood oil from Venezuela, Iran, or Russia. I'm ready on day one. I worked on these energy issues as your ambassador. But there's more. If you're a viewer of this show and you want the price at the pump to go down, please vote for me as your candidate for U.S. Senator. I will bring those prices down. I have the capacity to do it. I understand the issues. If you want to pay less at the pump, if your family is suffering because the price of gas and food and taking care of your kids' needs is too much, I will work for you to make life better. I'm a problem solver and I'm capable. So that's what I'll say to you. And don't we miss those great America First policies.
Let's get into that foreign policy, because you come from a foreign policy background as ambassador, and as a senator, you would deal with a lot of foreign policy issues. So with this war in Ukraine right now, what would your approach be in the Senate?
So my approach in the Senate is largely what many senators are calling for, which is give aid to these poor people, make sure they have the arms that they need. However, we do not want to get into a hot war with NATO, with Russia, because China is backing Russia, and it would be World War III. We don't want to have bloodshed of American young men and women over this issue. I believe that this would never have happened if Hunter Biden and the Biden family weren't as corrupt as they are. We know that the New York Times just came out and said, the Hunter Biden laptop is real. And we know that the Biden family has business dealings in Ukraine, in China, in Russia, and in other countries around the world. I believe that the corruption and how compromised this president is means that he will never hold the line on Russia and China. I believe that as soon as I'm elected the U.S. Senator, we will investigate the Hunter Biden and the Biden family corruption. We'll investigate Fauci and what he did to our American and Pennsylvania businesses and families. And we'll investigate China and the virus that originated in Wuhan that China allowed to spread to the rest of the world while they shut the flights from Wuhan to the rest of China.
What would you say is the biggest threat to American security at the moment? National security?
China. In a word, China. Yes, they want to dominate the world and create the rules of the road. They want to export their kind of totalitarian governance around the world. And we already know they have 1 to 2 million people held in concentration camps. How they treat their own people is an example. Can you imagine how they'll treat the rest of the world? They're the #1 thieves of our intellectual property. They steal plans from our Department of Defense. They go into companies and steal. They steal in every way, electronically, personally. They do research that our tax dollars pay for and take it back to China. Their malfeasance is a thugocracy. She is the most despotic leader in the world right now. What he does to his own people and what he's trying to do to the rest of the world. It's very, very dangerous. Their navy is already bigger than ours. How they behave. While I was U.S. ambassador, they called their ambassadors wolf warriors. They are intending to dominate the United States, and so we should not trust them. We should not partner with them. And American companies that put their needs, the needs of communist China, over the American people, it's very disheartening. It has to change.
All right, we're going to take another call now from Lebanon. Jason, you can ask your question.
Hi. Thank you, Ambassador Sands, for coming on. I, like many people around the country, have felt the pinch of the gas prices recently. With a family of four, it's really hard to, put gas in the tank every day. What is your plan, to make sure that we are energy independent as a nation, that we don't have to keep relying on China and Russia and other countries that we do not ideologically line up with?
Well, it's a great question, and our Pennsylvania families really are suffering. If you just think back, just a little over a year ago, we were literally paying a little more than $2 a gallon for gas, and the price of groceries and other things that families need were increasing around 2% a year. Our inflation was very, very low. And, I'll just say to you, Pennsylvania's been going in I would say, negative direction for about 40 plus years as far as companies and opportunity leaving and going off into Asia or other countries where industry and companies just packed up and left. And what happened was bustling towns across our Commonwealth really kind of hollowed out. And now we see the fruit of that in Pennsylvania, where it's hard for one earner to support a family. Oftentimes, both parents need to work. I want to see industry come back and opportunity come back so that great jobs, high-paying jobs, come back to Pennsylvania and we grow opportunity so families can thrive here and don't have to leave. We just lost a congressional seat. But one of the ways that I believe I will be able to lower the price at the pump and the inflation. Number one, stop the out-of-control spending in Washington. We see these multi-trillion-dollar bills being passed. It almost seems once a month they're passing multi-trillion-dollar bills that have a little bit of good sometimes, but most of it are $10 billion here and $100 billion there to leftist organizations or to leftist cities. We want the money to be well spent. Taxpayer money should be carefully spent. And I believe that this administration is out of control. So I will work to stop the outrageous spending and no more handouts. And then second, to get the price of the pump down, is we have to harvest here at home. And how we do that, we do it cleaner than anywhere in the world. We harvest our energy carefully. It is very, very low. In other words, one of the reasons why our CO2 emissions have gone down while our economy has grown is because of our natural gas. So we should maximize that potential, harvest it, and then we need to lay the pipes. But if we can work at the federal and state level, we can do it really fast. Even in the 1940s, they could lay more than 1,000 miles of pipe in less than a year. Can you imagine with today's technology how we can secure our energy supply? And it will drastically drop not just the price at the pump, but it's going to drop the cost of everything, because when the cost of energy goes up, it raises the cost of everything from manufacturing to food production, farming, for instance, the fertilizer the farmers need. But I believe that the needs of Pennsylvania are so clear. What most of Pennsylvania wants: reasonable prices, common sense regulations. I will be that senator. We also know we don't want our kids to be indoctrinated to hate each other and hate our country. I'll work to ban that at the federal level. I'll work to secure our southern border and stop the flow of illegal immigrants and drugs. I'll work to bring peace back, But we're going to need the presidency in 2024 to do that, because we need strong American leadership. When we lead from behind, the rest of the world fails because they need a strong America. The strong America is what helps keep peace around the world. And so we need strong leadership in the White House. I hope that we'll elect an America First president that will be that leader in 2024. And I'll help them.
All right, we're going to head to Lancaster now. Eric, you are on PCN.
Good evening, PCN. Thanks for taking my call. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. You can ask your question.
Very good. Carla, I think the reason why Donald Trump met such opposition and hatred when he went to Washington, D.C. was because he flipped on a light switch and the cockroaches started running. And I hope you hear what I'm saying, okay? Donald Trump went to Washington and he was met with dishonesty, hypocrisy, a huge unaccountable federal bureaucracy that does what it wants, irregardless of who's elected president and who's running Congress. Okay, and I will be bluntly frank with you. Okay, I am sick and tired of seeing politicians who talk a great game while they're running for office, right?
Yeah.
Heading off to Washington, D.C., and then all of a sudden they're just lining up behind Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer, like ducks in a row, whatever the party tells them to do, and the people that they're supposed to represent are left holding the bag, okay?
Yeah.
So I want to know, if you were to be elected and you went to Washington, you would be viciously and personally attacked. And you know that. Right. And I don't know how many people can stand up to that kind of thing. My question is, can you?
So thanks for the question, Eric. Here's the thing. I already was America First since 2016. I worked representing you in Denmark. They style themselves as a socialist country. I didn't have a friendly news outlet. I was viciously attacked constantly. They'd make fun of me. But we got good things done anyway. It didn't matter because you know what? I am a servant. I am here to serve. I don't need praise. I'm not looking for cocktail parties. I have been blessed, and I'm ready on day one. In fact, I have a website if you want to learn more. It's carlasands.com, and I need everybody's help. If you're interested in volunteering, you want to help us with calling or door knocks, get out the vote. We'd be honored, and if you can support the campaign, thank you. I can't do this alone, but I understand what the risks are, and I took this on anyway. I watched how they viciously attacked Donald Trump. I watched how Hillary Clinton and her campaign attempted to take down first a candidate and then a sitting U.S. president, and they achieved spying on him while he was elected and in the White House. So that had to be, they were working with people inside. Yes, we have unelected bureaucrats who we have a hard time firing. And in fact, this candidate for the Supreme Court that Joe Biden has announced he's putting forward, she voted against giving Donald Trump the power to fire bad bureaucrats. So who will I support? Never a radical like the people that Joe Biden suggests. I would support someone who follows the Constitution and isn't an activist. People who are activists should not be judges. Judges are supposed to call balls and strikes, not make law. And so I would support constitutional candidates. And that's not what I've seen from this administration, from the person who recently withdrew, who wanted to debank energy companies, for instance, or another one who wanted to nationalize, federalize all the banks in the United States. This is not the Democrat Party of John F. Kennedy. This is the Democrat Party of Bernie Sanders and AOC and Venezuela-type socialism. We are in a new day, folks, and if you love your country and you love your Constitution, I hope you'll take a look at my campaign. I will never stop working for you, and I will bring down those energy prices. So if that's what you're looking for, I'm your candidate, and I'm Carla Sands for Senate.
Now, the field for candidates at the moment is still pretty wide. So how do you and your campaign differentiate yourself from the opponents in the race?
Thanks for the question. It's a really important one. I'm the only candidate that actually worked in the Trump administration. So if you like America First policies, whether you liked the former president or not, if you liked lower inflation, if you liked lower gas prices, if you liked growing Pennsylvania manufacturing, I'm your candidate, and I'm tested. I have a public record that is America First since 2016. So you can look back in my work as the U.S. ambassador. I always put you first. And I'll give you two examples. Number one, I told you I want to be Pennsylvania's energy senator and that I'm calling for Operation Warp Speed for American energy because we need it for our economic strength, but also our national security. We do not want to be buying from bad countries like Russia, right? But there is a cracker plant going in Western Pennsylvania. This is a huge plant that harvests the energy from under the soil, under our feet, breaks apart the molecules, and makes the stuff in your home, in your car, in this studio I'm in. It's full of things made from under the ground, and it's even in our clothes. And they did a void analysis. We need 4 to 5 more cracker plants. These are very good paying jobs. These are sustaining jobs. And this will mean we can make things in the United States and we don't have to import them from other countries. So that is one idea I have that I didn't come up with. I'm just talking about what the experts said we need. But I can help make it happen at the federal level, working with whoever is elected governor and bring opportunity back to Pennsylvania. So we're the powerhouse that we were 100 and even 50 years ago, so that we're looking more like Texas with growth and prosperity and less like New York, which is not going in a great direction economically. They're losing GDP and they're losing population. That's my idea, is grow Pennsylvania as an opportunity for prosperity so young families and companies decide to move here rather than move away like they did in 2019.
And we've only got about 30 seconds left, so I'll just give you the floor.
Oh, my gosh.
Tell voters why they should elect you for U.S. Senate.
I will never stop working for you. I will always be on the offense. And my website is carlasands.com. I invite you to go there, check out our campaign, and I really appreciate that you all spent time to watch this show and learn more about this race. We have to hold this seat in Republican hands if you love your country and you love your Commonwealth.
Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, Carla Sands, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Next on PCN, On the Issues, features Republican candidate for Lieutenant Governor James Jones. That's next at 8 o'clock. I'm Liaga Manyofu. Thank you for watching.